I never thought humiliation could taste like champagne. But that night, under crystal chandeliers and golden lights, with violins humming softly in the background, I learned exactly how bitter it could be. The restaurant was one of those places where even the air felt expensive. Polished marble floors, waiters in crisp black suits, glasses so thin they looked like they might shatter if you breathed too hard. It was the kind of place where people came to celebrate power, success, and status. And that night, my husband wanted an audience. My name is Elena. For 22 years, I had been a wife who believed in loyalty, sacrifice, and silence. I believed marriage meant standing beside your partner, even when your dreams were set aside, even when your name slowly disappeared behind his. That belief died at that table. My husband, Victor, raised his glass, smiling widely as his business partners laughed around him. The table was full. Investors, executives, their wives dripping in diamonds, all eyes drifting toward Victor as he cleared his throat. "My marriage," he said, swirling the wine, "is the best business decision I ever made." Laughter followed. I smiled automatically. I had learned how. Victor continued, "I married stability, not passion, someone to hold the house together while I built the empire." More laughter, louder this time. Then he looked at me. "And she did her job well," he said casually. "But let's be honest, if I were starting today, I'd choose differently." The table erupted. I felt my chest tighten, my fingers curled under the tablecloth, my ears rang, yet every word landed perfectly clear. Someone asked, "So what keeps the marriage going?" Victor smirked. "Comfort, habit, and good manners." Good manners. 22 years of raising our children, 22 years of supporting him when his first company failed, 22 years of nights waiting up while he worked, of dinners reheated, of dreams postponed, reduced to habit. I looked around the table. No one defended me. Not one person met my eyes. Some smiled awkwardly, some pretended to sip their drinks. His assistant, young, polished, and watching Victor a little too closely, laughed louder than anyone. That's when I realized something terrifying. He wasn't joking. This wasn't thoughtless humor. This was how he truly saw me. Victor leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed. "Marriage isn't romance," he said. "It's logistics." The word hit me like a slap. Logistics. I felt something inside me crack. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply, like ice breaking under quiet pressure. I stood up. The movement caught him off guard. His sentence trailed off as chairs scraped slightly and heads turned. "Elena?" he asked, irritated. "Sit down, you're embarrassing me." Embarrassing him. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in years. The tailored suit, the confident smile, the man who climbed every ladder while standing on my back. "No," I said calmly. The table went silent. "I won't sit down." Victor laughed nervously. "Don't be dramatic." But I wasn't angry. That was the strange part. I felt clear. "You just mocked our marriage," I said, my voice steady, "and you did it proudly." He shrugged. "It's a joke." "No," I replied. "It's the truth, and I refuse to be the punchline." I picked up my bag. Victor's smile vanished. "Elena, stop. People are watching." "Good," I said softly. "They should." I turned and walked away from the table, my heels echoing against the marble floor. Every step felt unreal. My hands trembled, but my spine stayed straight. Behind me, he hissed, "You'll regret this." I paused at the entrance and looked back. "No," I said, "you will." And then I walked out into the cold night air, my heart pounding harder than it ever had before. I didn't cry. Not in the car, not when I got home, not even when I took off my shoes and realized I had nowhere to go emotionally. What I felt was something far more dangerous: resolve. That night, I sat alone in the dark living room, the house I had decorated, managed, maintained. I looked at the walls lined with awards bearing his name, photos of his success, stories of his brilliance. And for the first time, I asked myself a question I had avoided for decades. Who was I before I became his shadow? I remembered the woman I once was, the one who studied finance, who loved numbers, who dreamed of building something meaningful, the woman who paused her career temporarily so Victor could chase opportunity. Temporary had lasted 22 years. I opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I only knew one thing with terrifying certainty. I would never beg for respect again. By dawn, I had made 3 decisions. First, I would leave the marriage, not emotionally, not symbolically, but legally and completely. Second, I would reclaim my mind, my skills, my ambition. And third, if Victor believed I was nothing without him, I would become something so powerful that my absence would haunt him. Not for revenge, but for truth. For the first time in 22 years, I woke up without asking myself what Victor needed. The house was silent, no assistants calling, no schedules taped to the fridge, no last-minute dinners to arrange, just me and the unfamiliar weight of freedom. People think freedom feels light. It doesn't. Freedom feels terrifying when you've spent your life inside someone else's shadow. That morning, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back at me. Fine lines traced my eyes, not from age alone, but from years of swallowing words. My hair was neatly styled, my robe expensive, my life empty. Victor didn't come home that night. That told me everything. By noon, my phone buzzed with a single message from him. "You embarrassed me. We'll talk when you calm down." I smiled. He still believed I was temporary anger, a phase, a problem to manage. I didn't reply. Instead, I made a call I had postponed for decades, my former professor from university, Dr. Myers. He had once told me, "You have the instincts of a strategist. Don't waste them." I had wasted them, but not anymore. When he answered, surprised but warm, I said the words that changed everything. I want to build something, and I need guidance. Within days, I was sitting in a modest co-working space, not a luxury tower, not a marble lobby, just shared desks, humming laptops, ambition in the air. And something inside me woke up. I started small. Consulting work, financial modeling, risk assessments for startups that couldn't afford big firms. While Victor dined with billionaires, I sat with founders who still believed effort mattered more than ego. And I listened. That was my advantage. I had spent years listening. I learned patterns, why businesses failed, where money leaked, how leadership collapsed under arrogance. I worked late, fueled by something stronger than coffee. Purpose. 2 weeks later, Victor finally noticed. "You've been busy," he said coldly when he showed up at the house unannounced. He glanced around, irritated by the unfamiliar calm. "Playing businesswoman?" I met his eyes. "Working." He scoffed. "Elena, be realistic. You're out of the game." I didn't argue. I had learned something critical already. You don't explain your plans to people who benefit from your silence. The divorce papers came a month later, filed by me. Victor was furious. "You'll get your settlement," he snapped during our meeting with lawyers. "Don't make this ugly." Ugly. He had no idea what ugly looked like. What he didn't know, what he never knew, was that years ago, when his first company collapsed, I had quietly structured his recovery finances. I knew debt flows. I knew leverage. I knew exactly how fragile his empire truly was. And I knew where the gaps were. By the end of the year, I launched my own firm. Not flashy, not loud, strategic. I called it AstraCore, a company built to do one thing: restructure failing enterprises and turn them profitable without ego. Clients came slowly at first, then faster. Word spread. "Elena doesn't talk much," one founder said, "but after one meeting, everything changes." I wasn't invisible anymore. I was indispensable. Meanwhile, Victor's world glittered online. Photos from yachts, panels, interviews. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. Investors grew impatient. Profits slowed. And for the first time, he wasn't sure why. 6 months after the divorce finalized, our paths crossed again. A business summit. Different rooms, different levels. He saw my name on the program and laughed, until he realized I was speaking, not attending. From the stage, I looked out at a room full of leaders and said the words that silenced it completely. Power isn't built by those who speak the loudest, but by those who understand what others ignore. Victor sat frozen. For the first time, I watched doubt replace certainty in his eyes. He had mocked my silence. He never realized it was my training. And this was only the